Go. Okay, so we're now officially in our meeting and it's being recorded. Thank you all for joining the ANC3C Environmental Justice Committee. This is a committee of the ANC. It is made up of commissioners and members of the community. We look at issues affecting our community. It's not a decision-making body, but it can make recommendations to the ANC to pass resolutions or take other actions related to the environment in our community. And what we usually do is do a very quick round of introductions, and then we'll get into our program if people are okay with that. And tonight we have two presentations, and then we'll just have as much discussion as people want. So if you don't mind, let's just do a quick round of introductions. I'll call on people because I can see you in front of my screen here, just to introduce yourself and where you're coming from very quickly. So Heather, would you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Heather Goss. I'm a member of the committee and I live here in Cleveland Park.
Great, thank you. Madeline, can you go ahead?
Hi everyone, Madeleine Gauthier, and I live in Woodley Park.
Awesome. Laura, can you go ahead?
Sure. I'm Laura Moore. I'm also on the EJ committee and I live in Cleveland Park.
Next, I have Rachel. We'll be hearing from you shortly, but if you could just introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel Manning. I am not a resident of Ward 3, but I as a district government employee, and I'm happy to be speaking tonight about our food waste diversion programs.
Thank you very much. Shauna, I see you. Can you just make a quick introduction?
Yeah, hey, Shanna here with the District Department of Energy and Environment, and I was speaking on behalf of RiverSmart Homes.
Great, thank you so much. I see Marianne Hopkins. Could you make a quick introduction?
Yeah, Marianne Hopkins, and I live in Woodley Park, a couple houses down from Madeline.
Awesome, thank you. And I see Janelle Forsyth. Can you make a quick introduction?
Hi, everyone. I'm Janelle, also a Cleveland Park resident. I won't get to stay the whole meeting, but just thought I'd pop in and see what's happening.
Thanks for coming. You're very welcome. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over now to Madeline to make a quick introduction for our first presentation. Madeline, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Gawain. So our first presentation tonight is Rachel Manning, who's an analyst with the. So I'm not sure if you're a zero waste program analyst or you're a program analyst with the zero waste program. Anyway, she's with the Department of Public Works, and she's been, sort of instrumental in the whole composting program in DC. And we're so lucky because Rachel, this is her third year in a row to come to our ANC3C meetings and to talk to us about the composting program. So Rachel, we are so happy to have you with us. Please go ahead. And if you need to do some further introductions about you or your team, please do so.
Thank you guys. So happy to be here. I just sent a request to share. Okay, I think it went through. So thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been really wonderful to be able to present 3 years in a row. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to figure out how to share here. I don't often use Zoom, so.
What lucky person doesn't use Zoom all the time?
Well, we're strict Microsoft Teams and DC government. Really sure what is happening. I'm sorry, guys.
You're mute, going.
You don't see a green share button at the bottom?
I do. It's just it's having me jump through a couple hoops. I think I'm there though.
Okay. Here we are.
There we go. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Everyone can see the main screen. Okay.
Looks good.
Great. Well, again, Rachel Manning, I'm program analyst within the Department of Public Works Office of Waste Diversion, which is informally known as Zero Waste DC. And we help the district meet its zero waste goal, which is 80% waste diversion away from landfill and incineration. And one of the biggest ways that we are doing that is through food waste diversion. So really happy to be talking today about some of our programs that we have in the district. We have our residential collection program, which many of you know as its former name, the curbside composting pilot program. And then we also have our food waste drop-off program, and that is sort of split into two different formats, which is our weekly drop-off events and our new 24/7 smart bins, which I'll also be diving into in this presentation as well. So to start, providing an update consistent with my last 2 years on the food waste collection program. This is a service for those that do not know. It is a weekly food waste collection service that is across all 8 wards. Currently, we have 9,000 households that have been maintaining at that a number since August of 2023. You'll see the dots on the screen on the right-hand side. All throughout the city, we have participants. And to give you an update on the pilot, specifically that pilot year that ran with collections from September 2023 to September 2024, during that pilot year, we collected about 2.28 million pounds of food scraps from those 9,000 households. To give you a sense, that's about 176,000 pounds per month. And we maintain an average of a 0.06 contamination rate. That just means that we had very, very little of the wrong thing going into bins. So we're very proud of that. And then on any given day, about 60%, 67% of participants in the program were setting their bin out. That may seem a little low for some people, but it's actually quite average across different jurisdictions across the city. We're just hoping to keep that up. And then we also had a 98% satisfaction rate among participants for the pilot. And then most recently in September 2024, when the pilot wrapped up, we transitioned from pilot to an established program. And in that time, we were able to sort of assess what we wanted for our food waste diversion programs, and in sort of like grouping them together underneath a unified brand of Compost DC. So now we have Compost DC, the food waste collection program, and then we'll have unified branding for our food waste drop-off, commercial composting, home composting programs as we grow. And also more recently than that, in February of this year, we started introducing a new bin style. So some folks may have seen these already on the block or gotten them themselves. These are for new participants as households opt out or move away, or if you have had your bin stolen or gone missing or broken, we are now transitioning to this new orange bin with a latch top. We've had some operational challenges with the current bin. It doesn't mean that it's not good to use. People, if they still have them, are still encouraged to use them, and just let us know if there's a problem with it, and we will provide a replacement, and that replacement will be the new bin style. And of course, we are seeking feedback from participants on this new bin. If you were in the program, you might see a newsletter come out in the next couple days with an official survey asking for feedback. So we encourage you to take that as well. As a program as a whole, so sort of just taking a holistic view over the last almost 3 years or so, we have collected 3.5 million pounds, and that's about 250 pounds per household per year. That's wild to think that that is food that you may have previously been throwing away in the trash, and we're so grateful that we're able to recover that and bring it to a composting facility to grow more food eventually. We are sort of maintaining at a similar contamination rate and a similar participation rate at this time. So what's next for this particular program? We are still currently maintaining at the 9,000 household level, and then re-engaging low participating households as we can. And excitingly, in the mayor's proposed fiscal year 26 budget, we were able to get funding, additional funding to expand to 12,000 households in the next fiscal year. Also with the intention of bringing services in-house in the fiscal year after that, so fiscal year 27. So stay tuned for more information on that as we go through the budget cycle. And then, of course, if you are not in the program yet, you are interested, seeing that we do have funding, or at least proposed funding in the budget for next fiscal year, we will be bringing on new folks. We have a hefty wait list at this time, but if you're not on it already, not in the program, interested, you live in a single family home or an apartment with 3 units or less, and you already get service from DPW or trash and recycling, we encourage you to get on the wait list. The QR code is here, but I'll also drop the URL in the chat for you all as well. And then now jumping to our food waste drop-off program. I hinted that at the beginning of the presentation that we now have 2 ways to drop off your food waste for composting across the district. And that totals about 43 different options for folks. It significantly like quadruples our access to food waste drop-off opportunities, which we're super excited about. There are now 31 of these 24/7 smart bins all across the district. You'll see here on this little map that we have a screen grab of. The blue circles are our weekend drop-off events that are typically near farmers markets. And then the orange yellow stars are the drop-off bins. We tried to focus on high density areas, mainly those with high concentrations of multifamily buildings. We had community engagement events last summer to really hone in on those areas, typically in places where people are on the go. They're able to drop off something on the way to work, on the way to a park, on the way to a library, on the way to school, for example. And these are great innovation. They're much better than typical trash can on the street. They're lockable. And so they can be accessed through a keypad code and a Bluetooth enabled app that is downloadable from our website, or if you're just walking by the bin, there's also a QR code on that you can scan and download the app out on the go. And it's also really helpful operationally because they have sensors to report fullness. So they are emptied whenever they reach a fullness threshold of about 70%. They get an alert, our contractor does, and they are out in the field every day servicing bins all across the city. Bins are emptied at the minimum 2 times per week, but we're seeing at least 2 to 4 times sometimes in these high trafficked areas. So we're really excited. To give you some performance metrics on these, and also in comparison to the weekend drop-off events, about annually, it's about 640,000 pounds at the weekend drop-off events, with about 2,000 people out and about on a weekly basis dropping off their food scraps. With our new 24/7 access smart bins, just since February when we launched them, they have collected about 123,000 pounds. And most recently, as we've been getting the word out, that's been growing every single month. We most recently in May had 50,000 pounds just in the month of May. And we have 4,000 registered users on the app. And then, we crossed that 5 million threshold for pounds for the program as a whole since it started in 2017. So we're really proud of how this program has grown to provide greater access for folks. So just a quick run through, because this is a new technology, new program, new part of the program. I just want to run through how to drop off your food scraps really quickly so folks know how to engage with this program. So for those who don't have a special bin to collect your food scraps in that is meant for food scraps, any container will do. And this is, for all the programs, even our collection program, you can use old yogurt container, old Ziploc, whatever you have, just dump it in the bin. And then collecting your food scraps, put it in whatever bin you're using, any container you're using, scrape off your plate. And the materials across all three of our programs are consistent. So you do not need to worry about questioning if one thing could go with this program and one thing could go with this other program. It is the same. So really great, even if you are in the residential food-based collection program. If you have excess food scraps, I know, the summer, there's larger pieces of produce out there like watermelons, you're having parties. You can drop off excess whenever you please at these drop-off bins. So you've got all your scraps and you can drop it off at one of our weekend drop-off events or the smart bins. Weekend drop-off events are all accessible, all handicap accessible. The smart bins, unfortunately, are not at this time fully handicap accessible because it is a little tall. We are working to figure that out as we grow this program in the future. So if you are in the wheelchair, I would suggest our drop-off events. But other than that, our 24/7 access bin is accessible other than wheelchair. And they can be accessed by the app or the key code. You can scan the QR code here on this screen or follow our website at zerowaste.dc.gov/food waste drop off. Again, I'll drop that in the chat as well for easy access. But it is, just as simple as that. So punching in the code, which can be found on our website, or just opening the app and saying unlock, pressing unlock on the app, and the top will open for you. And then you can drop your scraps in and close, and it'll be open for about 60 seconds if you use the app. If you use the keypad code, if you close it, it won't. You just punch it back in, but it's pretty easy. And that way you drop and you're off to your next activity. And then rinse and repeat. That's all I got. We're very excited about our expansions. And again, these URLs are here. And I will also drop my email in the chat if you have more extensive questions or concerns.
Oh, great. Madeline, do you want to take questions?
Yes. Thank you so much, Rachel. Again, that's very good. I do have a couple of questions just to start things with.
Sure.
First, I have to say that I was really impressed by the low contamination rate. That's really good. But I think even the 67 participation rate is pretty good, I find. But I was wondering if how do these performance numbers compare with other cities? If you try to keep track a little bit of how DC is doing compared to other cities, which some of them have run composting for a number of years. And also, if you could say something, because I don't think you did, talk a little bit about any plans for the expansion of the bins, because that is a great alternative to the house to house, but it's as good as if you can have a lot of them. So anyway, if you could say something about that too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Madeline. So yes, the participation rates and contamination rates are consistent with jurisdictions that have been doing it for a while. I will say that the contamination rate is so low because it is a voluntary program. And that is consistent with other voluntary programs. Once it becomes a more mandated program, and very widespread, we've found that contamination rates do go up. We hope that with a slow growth, that we are able to keep that relatively low. With participation rate, I would say that's pretty average, maybe on the higher end. If you're thinking about collection programs as a whole, if you narrow into the voluntary programs, I would say it's about the same in line with them. And then in terms of expansion of the 24/7 access smart bins, yes, I do acknowledge that there are gaps still across the city, and our goal is to expand these. This is just our first year, and we didn't want to buy too many and it not work out, right? And so being, more fiscally responsible, testing them out on a smaller scale, it is a very cost-effective way to accept food scraps, and also the most convenient way for folks, especially if they live in a multifamily building, because we are not servicing those residents, and it's a large chunk of the population with our collection program specifically. And then, of course, in tandem, expanding our collection program for folks that do live in households that are, single family home or apartments of 3 units or less.
Yeah, because that's one thing, around here, there's a lot of multi-dwelling, and that's something, in the past we've tried, put recommendations forward of whether it could be expanded to multi household buildings. But so yeah, it would be, and I could see, I think you have only 3 in Ward 3, so we really look forward to an expansion of that. And then finally, can I have one of those new bins, please? They're really wonderful. They're much better than those twist and calf. Like I want that bin.
They are nice, but due to
Yeah.
some limited supply, we are reserving them for folks that have had their bin stolen or broken. So hopefully those things won't happen to you. But if they do,
exactly,
then
I'm
you will
like,
get
I'm
them.
like, can I lie that my bin has been stolen? Anyway, they're wonderful. I think that's a huge improvement. Like I can live with the twisting, but the other one with the latch is much better.
Well, we encourage anyone that who has one to let us know in our feedback survey that should be
Okay.
coming in the next couple of days.
Laura, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I was just curious if you can tell us if you mentioned that you have a long list of people wanting to get on. Does it already exceed the expanded number that you're hoping to get in the budget if it passes through?
As it stands now, it does, but that is before going through and checking for duplicates, checking for folks that no longer even live in the district, folks that put in an address that's not even eligible. And so I can't tell you for certain at this point, but yeah.
That's great. And I just wanted to just congratulate you and the team on implementing the program. It's been super efficient, and the email notices, reminders when there's delays, all of that stuff is just really great, and it's so automated. And I'm inspired by the effort, and I hope that it continues to be successful.
That is really sweet. Thank you so much, Laura, for your kind words. I am just a comment here. I am trying to drop the items in the chat, but I am not able to.
Oh yeah,
Other than a direct message to you.
the default is somehow that they can't. Can you just send it to me and I'll put it in the chat? I think that's easier.
Sure thing.
I have a couple questions. I don't want to. Maybe I'll go ahead, but if anyone else has questions, please say something. One question is there any measurable or observable difference in the waste stream from the composting program? Has the solid waste management program noticed that there's less going to landfills or whatever because of the program? Is that something that we can say?
We are working on a new diversion report as we speak. So hopefully we will actually have the data to present to the public in the next couple of months.
Okay.
But we are seeing trends, that positive trends, I will say that.
I mean, to me, it seems like a lot, but also
Yeah.
I don't know what the scale is. I don't know if this is a tiny amount of our total waste or not, but I mean, I'm super happy to see it, but I just don't know if it's like statistically significant or not. I'm not a participant in the bin, but by agreement, I sneak my stuff into my neighbor's bin. And I think the idea of like consolidating, is good, because having individual pickups probably is labor intensive for the department and stuff like that. So, and I also think the drop-off bins are a great idea because, again, that's probably not as costly to pick up. Did you say that there were multi-week or like multi times a week pickups at the drop-off bins?
Yes. Yeah. So at minimum, the bins have to be collected twice a week to, avoid it sitting. Because, we don't want food waste sitting for too long, right? Especially that quantity. It's like 64-gallon carts in those bins. And so twice a week, a lot of them are getting picked up more than that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think the bins are terrible. Like the spin bins, that's a big hassle. I think the new bins are much better. Or I mean, I haven't seen one, but it seems like much better.
We hope it's a great alternative as we expand.
Okay, I've said a lot. Anybody else have questions or anything? I'm gonna put Rachel's comment here into the chat, and I think everyone should be able to see it. Madeline, you want to close us off?
Sure, yes. Thank you so much, Rachel. And just as Laura said, we're big fans. We think it's just very important. I understand, like your desire to go slowly. We look forward to have like more of the program, but and then we understand that. I think we were also a little nervous about with the new budget and all this shenanigan with the federal government and all that. So to see that it is in the new, I mean, we understand that still some discussions over the budget, but it's really nice to hear. And I think it's a very, very great program. So thank you so much again for coming, and just you can expect an email from us next year.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. You can drop off if you want or stay on to hear about the RiverSmart Homes program. Heather, can I hand it over to you?
Absolutely. Yes, thank you, Rachel. I did take a lot of notes, so that was super interesting. So I'm excited to share that with more people. I am going to introduce Shanna Cumberbatch. She is with the Department of Energy and Environment, where she works with the RiverSmart Homes program. And I'm just going to say first that I'm personally a big fan. Before I moved to Cleveland Park, I lived in a house in Columbia Heights, and I was able to take advantage of the RiverSmart program. I got a bunch of native species planted in my front yard, and I got a rain barrel that allowed me to water my backyard. So I'm a big proponent already. I'm happy to hear more about it. So Shanna, maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about how the program works, how it's helping DC residents kind of make a positive environmental impact. I'll hand it over to you.
Cool, thank you. Appreciate the intro, Heather. Great presentation for food composting and food waste and stuff. That was actually really nice. I feel as though I keep running into the same circles with you, but yeah. Love the food waste bins. I do have the app on my phone. I don't live in DC, so we'll see if I ever actually get to use them, but it's great. But RiverSmart Homes, I do have a presentation, so I'm going to see if I can share here. Let's see if it will let me grab
If you try it, if you click it, I think it'll ask me to give you permission. Did you click on it?
Yeah, it's allowing me to share, but I'm wondering
Okay.
if it's not gonna let me, because I'm in the web browser. I'm not in the Zoom application itself.
Oh,
So
here, let me I might be
maybe.
able to set it up. Hold on, let me see if I can do that. I'm gonna make you a co-host, which
Okay.
should I hope let you able to share. Try it.
Hold on. Let's try this now. Take two. Woo. No, I think it's just because I'm on the web browser, which is unfortunate. It's not super detailed. I can still talk about RiverSmart Homes,
I was
surely.
gonna say, if you have a your presentation,
Yeah.
if you want to share it, like somebody else could share it. I don't know if it's too big
yeah.
of a file, but
Let me see if I can send it via email. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to send it to you via email, and let's see if it'll allow you to share it on my behalf.
Let me see. You're saying to me?
Yes. Give me
Okay,
1
hold on.
second. I'll let you know when I have hit send. Cool. Cool. Very no subject. Cool. Sending it to you. Attachment loading. Okay, should be coming your way shortly.
I'm looking. It'll probably take a sec.
Yeah, okay. It looks like it just finished sending on my end. Yay! Shout out technical difficulties. We love it. I had to figure this out. I'm gonna have to get Zoom. As mentioned previously, same with us, since we're a district organization, we use Microsoft Teams and not Zoom. So it's sometimes it can be frustrating. I
Oh,
came from
right.
an organization where I used Google, so I was a Google Meet fan, still am. Very easy to
Well,
use.
okay. I think I'm gonna open it. Hold on. I do have it, and I'm opening it,
Yay!
and I'll get it here. Slideshow.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
like, it's
just
not long, which is the nice thing about it. Hopefully, I won't take up too much of your time. I think I've gone through the presentation. I think the fastest I've gone through it was 5 minutes, maybe.
I think this is it.
Think we might be in business.
Hold on. See if this. It's not. It's acting funny. Hold on a sec.
It's okay. I am here. Yay.
Do you see anything?
Nothing on our end.
The screen looks funny for me.
On your end.
Trying to share things. It's doing funny stuff. It's not quite working.
Okay. If I have to be verbal, that works too. I'm wondering.
I thought I would be able to do this, but I don't know why it's not working.
It's been a day.
Sorry about that.
No worries. That's on me
Okay.
too.
It's not really working. We could try one more person, or I think you should just go ahead.
I'm okay. Yeah, I can talk about RiverSmart Homes. So we've been around since 2008, 2009, depending on who you speak to, but 2008 officially. So we've been running for well over 15 years now, which is great. And as Heather mentioned when she introduced me, we do offer different installations, and those are green stormwater infrastructures. We call them GI or GSI, depending on who you speak to, whether or not they use stormwater or not in the description of the installations. But the sole purpose of our program here is to help educate both homeowners and renters in the district about ways to mitigate stormwater on their property so we can help clean the waterway and also beautify your property in the process and maybe save you a little bit of money there with the rain barrels. So we do offer 5 different installations through our program. There is one that is rebate only and is only accessible to those who live in the MS4, which is the sewer system which occupies the outer ring of the district. So the municipal separate storm sewer system, which is the MS4. Those who live in central DC will live in the CSS, which is the combined sewer system. So they are not eligible for the permeable paver rebate. But if you have any hard surface, at least 100 square feet of hard surface, and you'd like to remove it and put in pavers or revegetation, you can apply for that program. Reach out to the list of contractors that we have approved that are certified and able to do permeable pavement in the district, which is great. There are quite a few folks who have gone their own route to secure pavers or do other projects on the property and found out that contractors do not have permits or certification. So the beauty of working through us is that everybody is good to go. All of our contractors are certified in the district to do the work that they have been signed up to do. So that's permeable pavement. We also offer the basescape, which it sounds like that might be what Heather was describing. It is a 120 to 140 square foot garden that is a contiguous space. Native plants only go in there, and it is essentially put in to help reduce slope and erosion on your property and maybe cover up any spots that may be flooding. So all of the plants that go into the basecapes will be native plants, and some of them will be water-loving native plants, depending on where your basescape is going on your property. If you have areas that flood easily or stay wet or moist, we may put more water-loving plants. But if it's an area that may be more dry and arid and you're just getting a lot of sun, they may put something that's a bit more sun tolerant. It depends on the contractor that you work with. Then from basecapes, we have a slightly smaller garden, which is the most effective at collecting stormwater. It is the rain garden. And those are a 50 square foot garden, so less than half the size. Thank you for sharing. Less than half the size. And if you do have that installed, there are some limitations with putting in rain gardens, but again, myself or another one of my colleagues can go through those specifications in terms of distance from your home and what else may be a limiting factor to having a rain garden put on your property. Now, both of those are our landscape features, the basescape and the rain garden, and they are a one-time $100 copayment. That is all you are responsible for. If you're eligible for both of them, you can pay $200 one time and have both installed. You may also opt to do a double rain garden if you want. And in the instance where we can't put a rain garden, you may be able to qualify for a double basescape. It just depends on the space and eligibility of your property. The other two installations we have free of charge, KC Trees. They plant trees for us in the district. I'm sure many of you may be aware of their plans to increase the tree canopy in the district by 50% by 2050. So that's a beautiful thing. So they are working on that. But if you want trees on your property, free of charge. We'll send an arborist out to your property to do a consult with you to discuss trees, the benefits, and any limiting factors, and also the species that they have available will depend on their inventory at the time. They only do 2 planting seasons though. So if you do come through RiverSmart Homes and you want to get a tree, let's say you sign up today or tomorrow in the next few days, you should have your assessment done by us by the end of the summer, and we may be able to put you on the list to get a tree in the fall. However, if you come in later than the fall, the next planting season would be the spring. So things to keep in mind depending on what you're looking to do with your property. The last installation, which is the most popular, are our rain barrels. Again, Heather mentioned that she has one. There are a lot of residents who go through this program and opt to get a rain barrel. We have 2 different sizes. Each rain barrel is a one-time copayment of $50. That's all you're responsible for. And if you want to get 2 rain barrels, it'll be $100 one time. We have 2 different sizes. There is one that is the river size. It's an octagon. It's probably the more popular size and the one that you're more likely to see walking around your neighborhood or driving around. Then we have the Hydra, which is a rectangle. It is visually larger because it is 4 feet wide, but it is actually the smaller barrel, and it holds 116 gallons versus the octagon model, which holds 132 gallons. Now, some people may say 132, 116 gallons, what does that mean? Think about your average gallon of juice or gallon of milk or any gallon of any beverage that you consume, gallon of water, and just multiply that. These barrels are huge and they weigh over 1,000 pounds when they are full. Benefits to having rain barrels: collecting stormwater, which is actually not illegal to do in the district as long as it's in a sealed container or it has a filter in it. We do have a list of requirements. If you want to install your own rain barrel and apply for the rebate, you can do that as well. With our rain barrels, they do have a filter on them to prevent any debris from coming in, any mosquitoes from laying eggs. And there's a spigot at the bottom, and every rain barrel comes with a complimentary soaker hose. So I'm hoping that, Heather, you got that as well. Because I know they were going through a phase of switching out the soaker hoses within the agency. So I'm hoping that everybody's been receiving their soaker hose. But other benefits to having the rain barrel installed: it reduces the volume of stormwater coming off of your property and going into the sewer system. And it also helps to clean some of that water, especially if you're using it and running it through the spigot at the bottom, if you're not using it to water your plants. Fun fact, there was one person who I would love to find in the district who actually attached a pump to their rain barrel and used it to water their car and wash their car. So that's something you can do if you're creative and want to look for the uses of stormwater. But the main priority is just slowing that stormwater that's draining off of your property and entering the sewer system. So imagine being able to hold over 100 gallons of water on your property. And in the times in the summer, for those who garden and have flowers and plantings, and the days when it's dry and you get those dry spells, you'll have water that's stored in your barrel that you can use. And there are a couple residents who have noted that they have a reduced water bill in the summer months because they use the rainwater from their barrels instead of using their regular water spigot off their home. Yeah, those are the installations. Any questions or comments? Anything? Yeah.
Heather, can I go ahead? So on the pavers thing, it sounds like that's not across the district. That's for certain areas. Can you just describe what those areas are?
Yeah, so there are two sewer systems in the district. We have the combined sewer system and then a municipal separate storm sewer system. So we abbreviate them as the MS4 because that is a mouthful. The MS4 essentially is the outline of the district. So most of the properties that reside on the border of the district are on the MS4, and those that are more central to the district reside in the CSS, which is the combined sewer system. So those who are in the MS4 are the ones that are eligible for the permeable paver rebate. However, there is a little bit of a catch for anyone who resides in Ward 7 and Ward 8. They automatically are eligible for it. It doesn't matter which sewer shed they live in, which sewer system they live in. Yeah.
Because it comes through DC water or something that, or is that why? Or I don't, yeah, just because.
For the folks in the CSS?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the water from the MS4 is going straight into the Potomac or the Anacostia, which gets treated down at Blue Plains. But there isn't anything that's slowing that treatment in those areas before it reaches the sewer system.
Okay. So
Yeah.
another question. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Can I?
go ahead.
How do you keep mosquitoes out of the rain barrels?
So they have a filter at the top. Now, it's not 100% foolproof. It's as long as you keep your barrel cleaned and you're emptying out the filter, which we recommend doing after every major rainstorm or before a rainstorm, because the rain barrels are directly connected to your downspout on your home. So anything coming off the roof, going down into the gutters and down through the downspout is going to go through that filter. So you want to make sure you're keeping it clear. But the mosquito problem, you shouldn't have to worry about as long as you're keeping your filter clear and keeping the barrel at a certain level. So if you allow your barrel to fill up to the point where it is overflowing and the water is coming back out through the filter at the top, then you may lend yourself to having mosquitoes laying eggs. But we haven't had anybody report any issues of doing that because they're pretty good at emptying out their rain barrels and keeping their filters clean.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Jana, I was wondering, you mentioned the program's been around for 15 years now, and I think I used it maybe like 2011, like not long after it started. Sounds like it's a little unchanged since that time, which is kind of like it sounds like it's been pretty successful. I wonder if you could just maybe tell us a little bit about, has anything changed? Like what did you kind of see? Did you see the program evolve over that time?
Yeah, so I'm newer to the program, but I've definitely been able to look at the data over the years from the start of the program and its inception to today, or at least through 2024 so far. And we've seen with the permeable paver rebate, we've seen a few more folks applying to that. And we've also increased the rebate incentive to incentivize it more. So it used to be a $4,000 rebate maximum. It's now a $6,000 rebate maximum to encourage more folks to go and put in permeable pavement because it is a costly project. So we want to help offset some of that cost. Other things we've seen with the landscape features, there are more people installing rain gardens now than they had before. And it may be a thing of when you get a rain garden install, it is a 2-foot dig. And some people, I think, were a little cautious about that and worried that they'd have a 2-foot hole in their yard. But what you see after the installation is just a 6-inch dip where the water collects. So more folks are putting in rain gardens, and I was actually able to assess a property that had a double rain garden, and there are a few of those around the district. But we're also seeing more interest in trees. So that used to be something that a lot of my colleagues would mention in the earlier days. You'd mention having a tree put in for free, and people would say, "No, I'm okay. I don't really want a tree. It's too much shade. It drops too much leaf debris." But over the years, working with Casey Trees and having more of an educational component on the benefits of having trees, we're seeing more and more people signing up for it. And it's still a pleasant surprise. I've only been with the agency since last summer. And even in my short time doing assessments and going out to properties, I've seen more and more homeowners and renters asking for trees specifically, which is actually really cool. And then for the basescape, which you've had put in, they've had different what I want to say is that the limitations have changed for that a little bit. So a lot of folks were coming to the program specifically to have a base gate put on their slope, especially those who lived in row homes. And so we've learned over the years that if you install that on a steep slope, a lot of the garden features are mulch bed based, so that'll just slide right off. And I actually did assess a home last month with a gentleman who had a base gate installed earlier in the start of the program. I want to say maybe 2012, somewhere back in there, earlier in the days of the program, and his basescape is completely washed away because it was on a steep slope in his front yard. So that's something that didn't work, and so we'd encourage folks in that scenario to either terrace their property or maybe try to find other native plants with deep roots that they can place in that may not slide off.
That's great that you're kind of going back and helping folks and
Yeah.
seeing if it's working or not. Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah. It's kind of, it may be a silly question, but I mean, most of the winters that we experience in DC, they're not super harsh, but last winter was a really cold, relatively cold winter for here. I had a rain barrel when I lived in Vermont for 25 years, and winters pose a unique problem for a rain barrel. What do people here do? I mean, do you disconnect them or do you cap them, or what do you do?
It is called bypass. So both of our rain barrels have a bypass method depending on which model you have installed. If you have the octagon, it'll just be there's a hexagon on the back that has bypass on it and collect. And so you'll just literally turn it over and it'll block any water from the downspout going into the filter. That's the inlet into the rain barrel. Because obviously we don't want any water to sit and collect in the winter months because it'll freeze, expand, and then crack the barrel. And they're not the easiest thing to fix or try to get back to working standard. It's almost once they're cracked, that's kind of it for the lifespan of a rain barrel. We are able to house some of them and fix some of them up and patch them and use them in some of the schools in the district. So we do have RiverSmart schools where they do take on some of the rain barrels if homeowners maybe forget to turn it on bypass, or they have too much water in it going into the winter months and forget to dump it out and it cracks. And then we can bring those over to the schools and students can learn about rain barrels. But the other model, which is the rectangle one, it has a diverter box. So it's not a hexagon, but it's literally a little metal handle that goes left or right on the downspout. And when you have your rain barrel installed, the downspout is supposed to be connected to go into the filter and then have another piece at the bottom that flows out. So whether or not you have the rain barrel working, the water will still flow as it normally was on your property. So that's what happens in the winter months. So if you get rain and it's above freezing and we get a rainstorm, the water will just flow down your downspout in its traditional path.
Oh, I wish I had had a lever I could flip. It was a lot of work without that. So anyway, it's good to know that you're not asking people to, construct diversions themselves and everything else. So
yeah, no. I will say, if you do go the route of installing your own rain barrel, that may be something you'd have to be creative about putting in.
Yep. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions or comments or anything?
I just had one more quick question. Does RiverSmart put out an annual report or something every year that kind of has a lot of these stats in it?
Yeah, no, I can check in with my team. It may be something that's within the agency wide as far as an annual report. I know we do numbers internally and we can share them on our website. There is a field maps and a GIS field maps that's interactive and you can click on it and see stats of how many installations have been put in. But I can go back and ask our team about putting out an actual document. I don't know if that's something they've done before and maybe they stopped doing it, or if it's something that's never been done before. That's actually a really great question.
Interesting. Yeah, if it turns out you are doing it, I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's great. This might be new. It's almost the little things that you would think would be top of the mind, easy, and then you're saying, you know what? I don't know if we do an annual report. But I wonder if that begs the question if every division in our agency will have to do an annual report. That might be a thing. Yeah.
Consign all your coworkers to it.
Yeah, just get everybody.
Does anybody have any more questions, or should we turn it back to Gawain?
Oh, I did have one more comment that I know was in the presentation, the wait times. So from the time you apply to the program to the time you have the installation put in your property, depending on what you have installed, it can take anywhere from, if you're working with Casey trees, it could be anywhere from 6 months. And if you're having, right now we have a wait on a rain barrel, so it's more than a year wait for a rain barrel to be installed. But on average, it's usually not more than a year from the time you sign up to having your installation put in.
Good to know. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. That was super interesting. I mean, even like knowing a little bit
welcome.
about the program, I'm happy to hear it all again.
Mhm.
And like Rachel, I took lots of notes. So yeah, really appreciate your presentation and thanks for dealing with the technical difficulties.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to me speak. Sorry I don't have fun photos to share and stuff, but yeah.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Janet, you're welcome to stay on. We're just going to spend a couple minutes talking about committee business, and then we'll close off. We're going to keep it to an hour, so just a few minutes here. So I just want to put the floor open for any other issues or comments or ideas for what the committee might do or consider. Also, any actions to take from today's presentations. Well, the floor is open, and in particular, issues or topics that we should try to take up in the future.
Hey, Marianne, are you still there? Do you have any suggestions? Is there anything?
I was thinking, but nothing's come to mind yet. I think maybe it's a crossover with transportation or smart transportation, if that's a committee. But I'm certainly interested in how we increase access to electric vehicle charging.
Yes.
For people that can't do it at their homes, like they don't have a driveway and they don't have that. So I think it's kind of between the two committees. It's certainly an big environmental issue. So to me, that's something that would just be so helpful for us to try to work with the district to figure out.
Can I respond on that? Thanks for bringing it up. It's an interest of mine. I got an EV and I have my backyard, so I can charge it. But anybody who doesn't have a backyard where they can charge it in an apartment building and stuff has no access. And there isn't that good access to EV charging in this community. And because I've been on the maps and looked, and the DC last year had a program where they were funding chargers, but I think this is a casualty of the Trump administration. They seem to have cut the funding. So I was trying to get organized to try to push some. The question was where, and some of the best ideas we had. One was to try to have some chargers at the Guy Mason Rec Center. That was one idea. Another idea was to try to put them at the shop and stop, although you have to pay to get in there. But maybe there'd be some arrangement you could have. I don't know, Marianne, I don't know if you have ideas where you can locate.
I need to find out. I have a friend that I bike with, and she lives in Wheaton, and they actually have chargers. So they don't really have a lot of the houses there. They're just small brick houses that don't actually have driveways. So people park in front of their homes. And what I noticed as I drove through the neighborhood is that there were chargers kind of in the right of way, like in the area between the sidewalk and the street. There was a charger installed. And I was intrigued because I thought to myself, who owns these chargers? Are these like personally owned by the homeowner, but they're not really on their property per se? So, and then I thought to myself, well, how would that work in the district? Because even in Wheaton, it's not like you own the parking spot in front of your home. Right. But, is there a way that, some charging infrastructure could be, placed, and that those parking spaces were dedicated to EVs, kind of like, disabled parking. So,
Right.
so yeah, I don't know. It's just, it was very odd to see. And I need to find out a little bit more about how they're getting
Yeah.
away with that.
I've noticed one like that. Sorry to keep going on this. Not that maybe not everybody's interested, but I'm interested. I noticed one like that in Tacoma Park. That it's a street parking, but has an EV charger there, and I don't really know if it's city owned and how they got the arrangement to take up a parking spot with this EV charger. And I don't know if the district has anything like that.
It might be Montgomery County. Again, I can find, I know a lot of people that work with Montgomery County and try to figure out how they're doing that and see if it's even, it might be too hard for the district. You know, I'm not positive, but so that was one thing I thought of.
I like it.
I have to give some other thought, Madeline.
If you have other thoughts. But
Yeah.
I think the EV thing is a personal interest, and I was like beginning to get us organized on it when they cut the grant for, there's sort of a grant program for it, and I thought maybe getting a couple like fast chargers up at Guy Mason might be a good solution or something.
Yeah.
But I'm open to other ideas, and as an EV owner, I don't really need it myself, but I see that there's that if you don't have if you live in a building and don't have parking or whatever, then you really can't get an EV because you can't charge on it. So I think that
It's
would be
frustrating. I have no place to charge it. So so yeah, it is a bit, you don't want to have to move just because you want to get an EV.
Right. Right. Okay, that's good. I like that one.
So is that can it be arrangement with like I'm thinking of the Giant, for instance, on Wisconsin, there's a parking that is sufficiently large. You have to kind of pay for getting in the parking. But again, so I don't know if that's the kind of things, because finding parking space, if the street possibility is not really a possibility, then it's trying to find parking, and it's.
They do have, down where I used to work, down by the Navy Yard, they have dedicated street parking spots that you can charge your vehicle. And those, and of course that whole Navy Yard neighborhood was designed, it's a more modern design and a more recent design. And so they purposely designed that in, whereas retrofitting it is always a little bit more difficult in some of these more older established neighborhoods. But definitely some of the obviously the new apartments that are going in and any kind of underground parking, like yes, the Giant does have those spots on the bottom level that you can charge your vehicle. They have a few spots down there, and people are always charging their car while they're grocery shopping. So there is some availability.
Yeah, I think the Wegmans might have some too, but I don't know how easy they are. And they're not, I think they're like level 2, but not the fast chargers, or I've seen a map of this, and there aren't really the super fast chargers anywhere accessible to us in Ward 3, as far as I can tell. Anyway, we're at time. Anybody want to throw in a last comment?
Those good presentations.
Yeah. Okay, great. EJ committee, thank you, everybody. And we'll be in touch soon.
Bye.
Bye.